Hello and welcome to
Almost
the
synced. Almost synced.
What's up? Uh,
That was almost synced up. Welcome to Bears, Birds, and Brews.
right.
This is
And then you kind of false started, or I like late started. I don't know. But if you're still listening, welcome to the Bears, Birds, and Brews podcast. This is a show about Chicago Bears, the Atlanta Falcons, and craft beer. My name is Asif. My co-host is.
Nabeel.
And on today's episode, it's just us. We don't have a guest after like so long. It's just me, but we got plenty
Awesome.
of.
Are you spilling?
Yeah, well, that's a standard. That's a mainstay on every episode. There has to be some beer spilled, you know. Which
Not
is
me this
probably not a
time.
good thing because I'm actually almost out of toilet paper again, and so like I have to use my precious resource to clean up another precious resource.
I mean, you could use a towel,
Something,
use a shirt,
which
you could
I
use a
gotta go
straw.
get. So BRB, folks.
Nah, sit down. You're gonna have to sit through the wetness. All right, so I guess it's just me. Yeah. So welcome.
I'm
Oh, he's
back.
back real
I'm
quick.
back.
Never mind. Gotcha. And
If
it's
you're
I don't know.
listening to the audio version of
What are you
this,
about to
it's
do? The
going
wipe down
on.
challenge?
What's up?
About to do the wipe challenge?
Maybe we go off the air, you know. But sorry, if you're
This has gotten
audio
off to
version of
a
this, Bill and I are kind of all over the place. Literally, he's in Lawrenceville. I'm in Roswell right now. We're recording this remotely, thanks to Zoom. We need to get sponsored by Zoom, man. We've been giving them a lot of good usage.
Zoom. You're my protozoa
And
girl. Is that what it was? Protozoa girl. Is that it? Whatever.
sorry.
All right. Let's just get into what we're drinking while you're spilling. So I today am drinking in a classic City Lager because we got the NBA playoffs going, and this is something you could drink all day, and playoffs are on all day. This is essentially like college basketball is happening every day of the week. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's like March Madness, but it's better because you have more than one game per matchup, right? Like, you know,
Right.
there's no one and done here. I mean, unless you're the Grizzlies, but you know, sorry.
And Asif, what are you having?
Yeah, so I have a Sophistry by Lupulin Brewing, and this is a modern house drop. Hopefully, we're gonna have Modern House back on soon for y'all. But this is an IPA, and it is 8% ABV. It's got Citra and Amarillo hops. And then this is actually Sophistry number 7. So I'll read this can because it's not just your regular IPA. So welcome to Sophistry, an ever-changing series of beers that explores the possibilities of what hop flavor can be. So you've got Citra and Amarillo hops in here, and then you've got two-row white wheat, flaked rye, Pilsner, and unmalted white wheat as far as malts in this hop. And what's super cool about this can is it tells you what kind of glassware to use. And thanks to our good friends at Dry County Brewing Co., I actually have the right glassware for this. It says made in Georgia on the other side of that. But this is what you'd call a revival glass. It's got the gold the gold tip rim. And
So that should help you get more of a nose on every sip. So, like, how does it smell? Like, what do you get out of it?
it's bursting with flavor and aroma. Like, it's got that pine. It definitely feels like woodsy and piney. This is like a great like fall beer sort of deal. You know, like it's good for summertime, but you can also drink it into the fall, which is perfect for where we are right now because it's got that seasonality of the juiciness of an IPA, but then it also makes you feel a little warm inside, you know, as the weather's cooling down. So very sophisticated. I assume that's probably why they picked the name Sophistry.
Quite possibly.
What's that?
I said quite possibly.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And shout out to
Good
Lupulin
stuff.
Brewing and Modern Hops. Sorry, there you go, Nabeel.
You're good. And shout out to Creature Comforts. How did I forget their name? I thought I was about to call them Classic City because I have this so often. It's its own little thing.
Right.
But
Well,
I am also currently watching this basketball game, Houston versus OKC. And I think OKC is catching up a little bit. So it's a 12-point game right now, third quarter.
So, okay, 12-point game, third quarter. We're just going to go ahead and do a prediction early. Who's winning this game?
Oh, Houston, because Houston's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, just so to give people a rundown, today we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs a good bit, which we've already started talking about. We got some NHL playoffs, which we're going to talk about a little bit, baseball and football. I mean, we've got like a full lineup on today's show. We're going to start with the NBA. So right now, the Rockets game is on. The Bills watching that, and
Harden just nailed a three.
of course he did. How Nabeel, if I was a Bucks fan, should I be worried about being down 1-0 against Orlando in Orlando in the bubble?
No, I don't think you should be worried at all. No, I wouldn't be worried. The team that looks kind of scary to me right now is actually Denver. I think Denver can actually do some damage because, everyone knows about was it Murray, their scorer, right?
Yeah, Murray is the point guard, shooting
Murray,
guard.
Yeah, he's a beast. He can score like crazy. But I think Michael Porter Jr. is the guy that's going to be like – he came on this playoffs. Like, he was supposed to be the first pick in the draft a couple of years ago when
Mizzou guy.
but then he got hurt. He had something in his knee. I think he played maybe 2 games the entire college basketball season.
Yeah, something like that.
Right?
Yeah.
He didn't play much at all. And then he kind of sat out waiting for the draft, and he fell to I think the 10th pick in the draft. And that's the same draft as Luka Doncic, Trae Young, what's that tall guy in Phoenix, DeAndre Ayton. So that was a pretty deep draft. That was also the same draft as Wendell Carter. So, but yeah, that was.
I think he went 14th overall. Just to clear, I think he went 13th.
Did he go 14th?
I believe he went 14th overall.
And he looks like a monster. And again, in the bubble, they're not playing defense the way they normally do. I mean, defense is going to be a little more prevalent during the playoffs now than it was earlier in the bubble. But he looks like a guy who can play. He looks like someone who should have been a top 5 pick.
Oh, yeah. He's certainly playing like it right now. And it helps, too, to your point about, it helps that he's in a great situation. I mean, you've got Jamal Murray, who's definitely establishing himself as a rising star. You've got Jokic, who's one of the best big men in the game right now. And then Denver, you have Paul Millsap. So you have that veteran leadership there, too, to help guide the team and guide somebody like Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and say, like, hey, as an all-star, here's what you're going to be up against as you go in your career.
And Porter can probably, kind of play his game around in the way Millsap used to play. Now, Millsap I think Porter's a little bigger than Millsap. At the same time, playing a little in the mid, little inside, having the athleticism that Millsap did when he was back in Atlanta. I mean, that's actually a good player for him to kind of play his game off of.
I think. As far as I'm concerned, Millsap is bigger. He's more of a 4, and Porter is more of a 3. However, to your point, Nabeel, he can definitely learn a few things about being down low and playing in that mid-range area, which Paul Millsap has done so well for years. And he did really well in Atlanta. And then on top of that, Michael Porter Jr. is very athletic. So, I don't want to say it's like the second coming of LeBron James because that's Zion, but just in the sense of you've got another athlete who can really do it all. He can run the court, he can shoot, he can pass, he can play defense.
And if he wasn't hurt his freshman year of college, he would have most likely been the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, I believe
so. Just a steal for Denver right over there.
Yeah, hell yeah. Because I believe Michael Porter Jr. was actually the number 1 prospect coming out of high school.
He was.
And he went to Mizzou, so shout out to Mizzou, which we'll talk about college football too, because they're doing something a little different. But
so let's actually talk about yesterday's games because the playoffs started actually yesterday.
Yeah.
And the game everyone's talking about is the Utah versus Denver game.
Speaking of Denver, right?
I do not. But for the life of me, I don't understand why that game started at noon. First of all, both teams are more west.
Right.
Right? Why are you starting that game at noon? That game had at the earliest should have been a 4:00 game.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, why is that game at noon? Second of all,
okay.
then
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell just went off, dude. He was
Right.
he went monster. Like, I think he put up like, he put Jordan S numbers up,
57.
in a playoff game and lost. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
I think that.
yeah. Well, just to finish your thought, Nabeel, Donovan Mitchell scored 57 in the playoff game yesterday. He's like the second player age 23 or younger to score like 53 plus points in the payoff game, and the only other person to do that was Michael Jordan. You posted the list on our Instagram at Bears, Birds, and Brews. The only players who've had a playoff-like performance like Donovan Mitchell did yesterday were Michael Jordan, who's done it twice. Once with 63, which is still the most in the playoff game. And then Wilt Chamberlain, Charles Barkley, and I think Elgin Baylor was the other one. Like, literally, you're talking about some of the 50 best players in NBA history. Donovan Mitchell just put himself, at least for one category, in that same tier.
Jordan's actually on that list twice because he also did 56, which is the same as I think Elgin Baylor. So he's on that list twice.
Yeah. So and so Jordan's on the list twice. And what's crazy is he's on the list twice, but his 63 is what leads the list. I mean, we've got tons of episodes about that in April. You could go back and watch The Last Dance. And Jamal Murray did a great job too, 37 points. To your point, Nabeel, I think the reason that was the leadoff game for the playoffs, one, is maybe to get the West Coast involved earlier so you have them all day. Two, what a great matchup to start with, right? Like, you have a marquee matchup between two of the rising stars in the league in Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray, and then you've got Jokic, and Utah's got some stuff in. You got Michael Porter Jr. So I think once people found out like 2:30 that, hey, there's a 50-point game happening, they probably tuned in, versus if you start with Brooklyn and Denver or Brooklyn and Toronto, which is a blowout, not really going to be interested in like the second game because you don't know what you're going to get. So I think the NBA took a gamble, calculated risk, and probably got it right. And I'm sure moving forward, they'll probably be back on more of the West Coast time swing because you got the Lakers tonight at 9 and you got the Rockets and Thunder playing right now, which is 8:30.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what was that one? Was it the Nets game you were talking about? Brooklyn versus
The
Toronto?
second game,
What was the other game? Because that should have been the earlier game, just because that's an East Coast. Both are East Coast teams, and you could be right, but all I'm saying is, it's easier for someone in Denver to watch that game when it's 1:00 their time than when it's 8 a.m. their time.
Yeah, but isn't that cool though? To wake up tomorrow morning 9 a.m. and watch some basketball? Like, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, yeah, that's cool. But they could have watched the game that would, like, my favorite thing to do during the NFL season is to wake up and watch a game that I don't care about at 9 a.m.
Right.
But I hate when I'm waking up at 9 a.m. to watch the Bears game.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather watch my game at 1 or watch my game at 4.
See, and we'll talk about this because I don't want to get too far off track, but I think people's game watching habits, and football is coming, though. I know you know. Football is coming too. But,
it's coming.
But before that, we got a little bit more basketball to talk about. You got Philly versus Boston on this list. Anything you want to say about that?
Dude, Tatum and Brown are just coming into their own. Like, it sucks that Gordon Hayward got hurt.
Yeah.
But Tatum and Brown are just becoming their own duo. Like, I don't know what that's going to become down the road, but I feel like that's an underrated duo. Because, like, when you think of Boston, you still think of either Gordon and Hayward. I mean, you think of Tatum, obviously, but you think of Gordon Hayward as well. You think of Kemba. And I feel like Jaylen Brown is kind of like the third guy that no one really thinks about, when I think he's probably the second or third best player on that team. And eventually he'll be the second best player on that team. Jason Tatum, obviously is number one, but.
Yeah, well, what's crazy is, so Boston right now, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but Boston has like 3 top 5 picks on their roster right now.
Yeah.
Right?
All courtesy of that KG Paul Pierce trade that went to the Nets.
That courtesy of Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems is what I'm hearing. Right?
No, not exactly.
Something like
all
that.
Courtesy of Russia, actually. Was it Prokhorov? Yeah, that's the guy who made that trade.
Oh, yeah.
He was the owner. But yeah. I don't know. Boston's looking great.
Hey, man, Boston might be the sleeper in the East.
Definitely. Well, I think that Gordon Hayward injury could hurt them, but maybe it could even just open it up more for them and have Jaylen Brown become more of an on-ball player.
And to your point,
more
Bill,
touches for Jaylen Brown because Tatum and
yeah, well, I mean, to your point about more touches and more chemistry with them, but the only thing I was going to say about Hayward is he's only out for 4 weeks, and you've got at least 1 day between games, so his rest isn't going to be or his time off isn't going to be as calculated, because if they're playing into October and September when the playoffs are supposed to end, Gordon Hayward should be back, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, yeah, see, the thing is, I didn't know what the NBA timeline is. Like, I know the bubble is going perfectly, but I really don't know how long the playoffs are supposed to last, just because I'm just taking whatever sports I have coming at me. So at this point, I don't know when playoffs are supposed to end. I know in a regular situation, NBA Finals is around May. Right now, I don't know when the finals are supposed to end. So I'm just watching until that basketball stops coming on TV.
So I believe it's going to be October 12th. So we're going to have football and NBA playoffs, hopefully, fingers crossed.
That'll be intense. So yeah, maybe Gordon Hayward can come back. The player I wanted to watch yesterday, which I did get to watch, and he lived up, but he didn't get off to a great start, and that's Luka Doncic. Mm-hmm. That is my favorite player to watch in basketball right now.
He's great.
Yeah, he got off to a rough start. I think he had like 11 turnovers. But you have to also remember, is the kid. That was his playoff debut. And he's going up against 3 top defenders in Patrick Beverley and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And you know what? The kid's still balled. I mean,
42 points, the most ever in the playoff debut by anybody in NBA history.
And that's with Porzingis being thrown out. If Porzingis was still in the game, that would have been a completely different game. And I do think Dallas would have had a chance to win that game, because it was still, I think it was a 7-point game at the end. If Porzingis was still in that game, Dallas could have beat LA.
Well, and I'll tell you what I saw in the boat, because for whatever reason, I was really tired yesterday. I went to sleep a little early, but
it's because you were watching the game at like 7 a.m. The Denver game.
Probably, right? But I will say though, when I was watching the Dallas game at night, and obviously I'm going back between that and Monday Night Raw and Dansby Swanson hitting his walk-off home run and all that stuff. But in watching the Dallas game, I mean, Dallas was in control of that game. Like I was shocked to see that they were actually beating the Clippers, the team that a lot of people still think would probably make it to the finals, if not win the whole thing. And you got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Doc Rivers and Patrick Beverley and, everything that the Clippers have. They're ready to go for it. The Mavericks behind Luka Doncic were actually doing the thing, and they're beating them. And then I guess, that ejection is probably when the turning point happened, because shout out to Turning Point Dallas. But I want to clarify that, at least from what I understand, the ejection happened because that was Porzingis' second technical of the game, not because it was flagrant 2 or whatever people might have said it was.
Yeah. And well, so there was a lot of stuff going on the air today talking about how, yes, that second technical was a valid technical, but the first technical shouldn't have been a technical because it was a clean block, and then he just got upset at the call, and he got a technical for that. And I get it. Everyone's in a bubble, and the refs have to control the game and everything. But come on, it's playoff basketball. You can't have little small technicals like that. We have another spillage.
No, but the ironic part though is like, isn't it crazy how in the NBA playoffs there's always got to be, even if it's for like one game, there's always got to be something that the refs do that kind of sway the impact of the game, whether they're fake or whether they're just emotions are high and they need to keep everybody in check. But fortunately, like we said, even though it's like March Madness where we got basketball games on all day, that wasn't the only game that the Mavs and the Clippers are going to play against each other in this season. So hopefully Dallas can bounce back. It's going to be interesting, though, when there is no traveling. So, like, it's not like Dallas gets to go back in front of their home fans and boo the refs out of the arena or maybe intimidate Paul George and the rest of the Clippers. Like, nah, you're pretty much locked in. I think the only team that has a real home court advantage is Orlando, and they cashed in on their one opportunity today. That's it.
Yeah, and like, well, do they have like? So, what would the home court advantage be for Orlando? They're not sleeping in their own homes. They're in the quarantine hotel just like everybody else is. They don't have a home crowd per se because everyone has the virtual fans when they're
Well,
home.
I think
When they're
it's
the
a
home
mindset.
team.
I think it's just a mindset. They're like, yo, we're in Orlando. This is our home sort of deal. We're doing it
Yeah,
for the rest of this town. And while there is no home court advantage, I mean, I'm sure there are probably arena staff that is pulling for them and giving them that energy as they pull into the stadium. Or, it's like the
right.
people who are around the
Well,
bubble are
yeah.
Orlando, you know?
That that's true. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like the players are just in that bubble. The arena staff that's going in and out. Yes, they're Orlandoites, Orlando Indians,
Or, yeah.
Orlando aliens. I'll say.
But even to I was just gonna say, I feel like Orlando cashed in on its home field advantage already because they took
Yeah,
game one from Milwaukee. I see that being a 5-game series regardless. And I think
yeah,
Milwaukee's gonna come out and blow them out the water for the next 4 games. So whatever
yeah.
advantage that Orlando did have playing at home, you saw today, and I don't think you're gonna see it again for the rest of the series. This is my personal opinion.
I completely agree.
Um, so we got that. The Blackhawks are alive though. We go to NHL playoffs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, today's make it or break it time. I mean, it should be starting maybe in like about 45 minutes. Blackhawks, I think puck drops at 9:30 Eastern. Let me just go through the old TV guide real quick. Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern, actually. So, yeah, I'm excited. I want to see what happens. I hope we make it to another game, but at the same time, like, the Blackhawks are not the better team. It's obvious they're not the better team. So it's more of like, hey, Blackhawks already lost their chance at the first pick. And even if they would have lost against Edmonton, they still wouldn't have gotten the first pick because Edmonton got like the 16th pick, who got slotted in the Blackhawks slot. So, at this point, I'm happy they're in there. I'm happy I got to watch some more Blackhawks games. And, hey, you know what? They're still a veteran team that can make some noise if they get some good goaltending. And that's what they've been getting. The problem is, and I know this is not that deep of a hockey podcast, but this is the most hockey breakdown I can ever do because this is all I know about hockey-wise. We're not getting enough shots on net. I mean, it doesn't take that much strategy to know that if the Las Vegas Golden Knights have 94 shots on net and the Blackhawks have 74 shots on net.
Right.
Well, that's a 20-shot difference where even if you have like a 1% chance of making the puck, which I don't even know what the hockey percentage chance of making a puck it is, but that's still a significant difference, which is why there's such a scoring differential. So, it could be easy for me to say to do this, but the way they got to win is they got to get more shots on net. It's
Right.
pretty simple.
Yeah, no, I mean,
That's
I think
hockey, baby.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, Nav saves hockey. Can Nav save the Blackhawks? We'll find out. I'll say
I
I've
don't
been
know.
watching some hockey. I don't have any expert opinions yet on it, but I like that they're doing the bubble thing and they kind of got it in Canada, so they got a good situation going up there. I'm excited. My only thing is like I would like to see more 3-game series in the first round just because it's like, let's get it over with, man. I want to see the good stuff. I don't want to see like the the stuff that you're doing for money, playing 4 games instead of 3, so people get paid.
I mean, do you know how much money sports have lost during this entire COVID thing? They're gonna play 5-game series, and you know what? All the commissioners wanted to go 7 games as
Of course, yeah.
many times
And
as
I
they
think,
can because that's more TV revenue. Because first of all, even like TNT, ESPN, they lost so much money on not being able to show. They paid for games they couldn't show. So
yeah.
at this point, they want more, 7-game series. They want to play, and I think it'd be better if there is 7-game series.
Well,
Like, you're in a
to your point
bubble.
about as fans, I think we could certainly appreciate a game 7 sort of deal. But I just want to see. Let's get to like Lakers Clippers, man. Let's get.
Well, see, the other thing is I don't want to rush through this because, and we're gonna get to football right now in a second. So, like, hey, potentially the only sports we may have after the NBA bubble and the NHL bubble and baseball is over is going to be football. I mean, we're not going to have anything else but football. And NFL, yeah, they're saying they're doing a good job, but NFL is going to be – they're not going to be in a bubble. So it's not – there could be possible that football gets shut down, knock on wood, God forbid, whatever. But football isn't doing what these other sports are doing. So we could be in a situation where we're in December and sports are shut down again. So at this point, I'd rather I don't want to rush through. I don't want to rush through what we're going through right now. Just enjoy it while you have it. Because listen, we've never gone through a situation until we just did where it was gone.
Right.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
And now we know it could be gone. So hey, whatever games, if I have to watch, a 7-game series of OKC Houston, let's do it.
Right.
Because what's the alternative? Not do it.
Right.
But let's talk football. Let's start with college. We talked a little about this last week with Greg Schaefer from Bruce Brothers. Big Ten canceling the season, delaying the season. Pac-12 delaying the season. And now Justin Fields, the potential number 2 pick in the draft. He could be number 1. Trevor Lawrence, I'm saying he's a potential number 1. Justin Fields, I'm saying he's number 2 right now. But the potential number 1 or 2 pick in the draft coming out, starting a petition that he wants to play college football this season.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Big Ten, I think they haven't turned anything around. I do believe the individual teams are still practicing in the Big Ten. Some Pac-12 teams. I'm not sure about the Pac-12. I know more about the Big Ten. I think individual teams are still practicing. I don't think the Big Ten is going to return at any time soon. And I don't think anything new has come out. I know players, parents are going to Chicago to talk to the Big Ten commissioner to try to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But, this has turned into a clusterfuck. And I honestly thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought with the Big Ten canceling, they took the proactive notion. And I thought the SEC, the ACC, they were going to get the grunt of, hey, you guys aren't taking action. You guys are wait and see, which I get wait and see. But, you can't wait and see when your first game is in 4 weeks. Right?
Or when their lives on the line, frankly, right? I mean,
right.
I
mean, Missouri, like you teased earlier, Missouri football. Well, Missouri's schedule is out. I think the first game is September 26th.
It's September 24th or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's 5 weeks away, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're only 4 weeks away from NFL being back. So college football and SEC football, I should say, not even college. SEC football is not too far behind that. And shit, I mean, I'll tell you what, since you already said the F word, fucking Mizzou is fucked, man. The first 2 games on the schedule are Alabama and LSU. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't want to see college football more this year than Mizzou fans, because it's very possible we'll start the season 0-3, man, or 0-2 at least,
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen? And of course, in true Mizzou fashion, they would win the first 2 games of the season and then lose it to Ole Miss in week 9 and fuck up their whole playoff chances.
All right. Calm down. You guys aren't beating Alabama, and I don't even know what LSU is doing, but you ain't beating LSU either.
Right. I mean, defending national champions.
Go Tigers.
So that's a good Coach O impression. That's very good.
Was it a good O? Thank you.
It was good.
I've been working on it. It's been a long quarantine.
Yeah. Keep working on your face, my friend.
Go Tigers. But so NFL, we do. So I'm gonna start NFL off with some bad news. We do have a handful of injuries to report. Gerald McCoy tore his ACL. He's out for the year for the Cowboys. Robert Alford, former Atlanta Falcon corner, now Arizona Cardinal, tore his pectoral, out for the year. Former Steeler, current Chicago Bear, Artie Burns today tore his ACL. So those 3 guys off the bat already out for the year. I mean, it's weird. It's a weird situation. And then, on top of that now, and the thing is, every training camp, you get injuries, stuff happens, but it just seems like it seems more heightened now when any type of medical concern that pops up just seems 10 times more than it You know,
Oh,
it's probably
absolutely.
any type of injury that used to happen in sports is probably being evaluated the way it should have been evaluated. But, you know, because like, you know, to us, to people, you know, we're so away from the sport and everything.
Right.
You hear an ACL, you're like, oh, crap. That sucks. Now you got to find someone else. But when it's actually like, hey, these are people, you know, due towards ACL, he has to go through a year worth of rehab. So, yeah, I mean, you know, unfortunately for those three players, two of them often injured players. So really, really unfortunate for Alfred and Artie Burns. Gerald McCoy, you know, he's a little older now. I still think he's going to be back for a couple of years, but that ACL at his age right now could be kind of rough.
And well, and man, just think about it. If he was able to stay healthy, the Cowboys would have been scary, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they were trending up anyway, and to have a piece like that, you know, potentially playing is like obviously really exciting. And then for a piece like that to go down, especially this close to the game starting, it's also like, wow, like
And,
now we need to
and the
find.
Cowboys, and they did just sign Everson Griffin to also add to their pass rush attack. So that's just another, like, a pass rusher that they just brought in that they just lost. I do wonder what they're going to do to replace Gerald McCoy now. You know, when I'm looking at NFL free agents, I do know Timmy Jerrigan was a free agent, but I believe he just signed with the Jaguars. But the biggest free agent still left on the market is Jadeveon Clowney.
Right.
I do think with the Gerald McCoy being hurt and with the current COVID situation, what you could do if you release Gerald McCoy right now, you actually get his salary cap money back. So I don't know if the Cowboys are going to be finagling something to maybe make a move for Jadeveon Clowney, but if they do, you heard it here first.
So I'm double checking. So they actually did go ahead and release Gerald McCoy already. He has been released.
Okay.
And a name that you're familiar with to be on the lookout for. Maybe he's not going to have the same impact or the replacement impact that Gerald McCoy was going to have. Maybe he's going to be the guy to step in, maybe not. But Alden Smith is actually on the Cowboys now. He's been on the Cowboys for a few months. So if you're a Cowboys fan, obviously losing somebody like Gerald McCoy is a big deal, but you might be fine. You know, you got Griffin, now you got Alden Smith. I mean, it's not like your whole defense matters.
They also, I think, have Randy Gregory still, who was supposed to be like a top 5 pick. And then he had some drug concerns, and I don't know what his situation is now, but and also, of course, DeMarcus Lawrence is still there. So, I mean, their
and your favorite linebacker in the league, right? Leighton Vander Esch.
Leighton Vander Esch. Well, actually, I don't know my favorite linebackers, but I do like Leighton Vander Esch. I also do like Terrell Edmonds in Buffalo, and you know Roquan's awesome as well. But yeah, a lot of cool linebackers, a lot of cool players. But you know, speaking of Roquan, let's talk a little Bears real quick.
Oh yeah.
You know, word out of camp right now is that Mitch looks good, but that's based off of what the coaching staff is saying. So that means absolutely nothing. That means nada. I still think that you know, Nick Foles will be starting week 3. I think Mitch will be starting week 1. So yep, week 3, Bears Falcons will be Nick Foles first game starting. And you know, I do think you know the tight end Cole Kmet's gonna you know step up big this year. I think Montgomery was gonna have a season that he was supposed to have last year. He'll have it this year. I'm also hoping that we could look into getting Allen Robinson extended before the year's over. I have a feeling we're not going to, and I have a feeling he's going to walk, which will be really annoying. But yeah, I mean, just quick early thoughts on the Bears. You know, I'm just excited for the season. Defense is going to be, I think, even with Eddie Goldman out, defense is still going to be great. But yeah. Falcons thoughts, Asif.
Yeah, so I mean the Falcons are, you know, as we talked about, pretty much. I feel like at the second half of last year, and then you know off season and going into this year. I mean the Falcons are kind of just staying the course, right? Like no changes in the coaching staff, no changes in the front office. Obviously, you had a draft which went pretty well. You got a lot of good pieces. You got a lot of workable pieces.
AJ Terrell had a couple of nice picks in those on training camp, like those Instagram pics he had.
Yeah, so AJ Terrell's doing well. And then the linebacker that I told you to look out for, Michael Williams, I believe is his name. He actually made some plays in training camp the other day. So, I mean, as of now, as a Falcons fan, I think I said this before. Like, I have the same feeling that I did in 2016, which is just like I don't have too many high expectations. It's just like the team knows what they have to do. They have all the right pieces in place, right? You've got continuity in the front office and head coach. You've got the leader at the quarterback. You've got a star wide receiver. You got two star wide receivers, really. And your offense is set. Your offense, you don't have to worry about. As long as they stay healthy, they're good. And then defensively, kind of like I know your point has been, hey, the Bears only need to get like 19 points a game or so to win the games. I feel like the Falcons defense is the same what they were in the Super Bowl. You get like 21 to 24 points a game offensively, which with 11 first-round picks on the offense you should be doing, then the defense has a pretty easy job where they just have to go out there and secure the lead. They don't need to force turnovers. They don't need to play desperate. They just need to play the game as it comes to them. And sure enough, the offense will do its job and build up such a big lead that the defense has no pressure but to just not do anything dumb. That's how I felt in 2016. That's how I felt now. And it's just like very subdued and like we'll just go one day, one step, one game at a time.
So you said you don't have much high expectations. So what are your expectations?
Well, the expectation is you can't do what you did last year. That's number one, right? So you got to have at least an 8-win season, if not more. I mean, playoffs, I think at bare minimum, you need to make the playoffs. As a fan, obviously I want to win the Super Bowl. As somebody, as like if I was Matt Ryan or Julio Jones, I would expect to be in significant playoff games, playing until January, February, ideally, especially with the schedule when you have the Seahawks, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Bears, all of them on your schedule. Like you're going to be battle tested and ready for the playoffs when the time comes. But my expectation as a fan is if you go out there and do what you're supposed to do, you'll be in good shape come late November, December, January, February. You should be right where you're supposed to be.
Has anyone told you you should be a politician?
I'm campaigning. The elections are coming up.
Yeah.
Campaigning right
now. You just stepped around the question until the timer went off. I mean, what are your expectations? Is it 8-8?
All right. Well, if you want a hard number, I know I already said the Falcons are going to win the NFC South, so I'm going to stick to that. The Falcons are going to win the NFC South, and by that mark, you have to win at least 9 games, right? At least 9 games. Hopefully 10.
The number went up, guys. 9 games.
At least 9 games. I would like to see 11 wins, but, I mean, the schedule is very difficult, and obviously with COVID, it is going to throw some things off. But I'm hoping for an NFC South division win and a deep playoff run. That's what I expect as a fan. That's what I want to see as a fan, and I think we can get there, but you just have to be very focused. And, like, we're not in playoff time. We're not in division game time. We're not 3 games into the season. We're no games into the season. So where am I right now compared to where I was at this point in 2016? I'm optimistic, and I think everything that the Falcons want to achieve is in front of them. They just have to do what they're expected to do, which is offense goes off the charts, and the defense just plays the game fast and physical like Dan Quinn likes to play. You do that, you're going to be – Matt Ryan's going to be playing in another Super Bowl this year. I mean, if everybody stays healthy, it should be the expectation, bare minimum guarantee sort of deal. That's how I feel.
Gotcha. See, that's a little bit more of an answer.
There you go. Hey, man, unlike other politicians, I will answer if I am pushed back on the question. Just for the record, if anybody's out there thinking about voting for me, I'm not 35 yet, but give me like 6 years, I will be.
All right. But yeah. So, phone fell. Yep. NFL coming soon.
You think we'll get SEC football?
We got? SEC football, yes. I thought there was a chance we wouldn't, but at this point, I think SEC, ACC, and Big 12 football are happening. I don't know what's happening with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. I think they may do a flip-flop eventually, which will look even worse. But hey, they're going to do
I
what
don't
they
think you
want to
can
do.
come unless this petition thing works out that Justin Fields is doing. But like, that's still just.
I mean, that'll be part of it. I mean, the petition will be part of it. But I think there's a chance. I think there's a bigger chance that we have Big Ten and Pac-12 football now than it was at this point last week.
Hey,
Final thing before we do end up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
well, yeah, just because we're on the college football tip, and then we'll end. I would love to see SEC, ACC, and whatever the other one is.
Big 12.
Big 12, yeah, I mean, who knows? I would love to see them in the fall, and then just to have like a Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12 tournament in the spring would be so cool. Like, it'd be kind of weird, of course, but it would be cool to just have like spring football between actual meaningful programs and like potentially meaningful games in a unique setting that obviously in the COVID era. So, hey, I'm with it.
So let's say if the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 combine to a unit, can we call it the Big SAC? Big because of the Big 12, S because of the SEC, and AC because of the ACC. So the Big South Atlantic Conference, the Big SAC.
Big SAC. Yo, I think we might just find the episode title, man.
Big SAC.
The Big SAC. God, if you're still listening, I know it's worth it at this point. It has to be.
The Big SAC.
All right, Nabeel, top off the Big SAC with something more epic.
You know what? I'm going to take my chances and just say the NBA lottery is going to happen on Thursday, and the Bulls got the number 1 pick.
Which means
I don't know who they're going to get. Anthony Edwards, maybe, but I'm hearing that this kid from Israel is supposed to be really good, and you probably can get him around the 5th pick. So I don't know. I mean, the last time there was a kid from out of the country that people were kind of like, oh, I don't know if we should take him or not. That was Luka Doncic. So I don't know, man. I mean, is this kid from Israel? Is he real? I don't know.
What position does he play?
He's a shooting guard, small forward.
Is that what? Well, so it's ironic because it's almost like the top 3 expected players. Sorry, according to your poll on at Bears, Birds, and Brews at Twitter, were shooting guards and small forwards, right? Anthony Edwards, this guy, and then LaMelo Ball as a point guard. But
I didn't have the kid from Israel. I had the big man from Memphis. I had the center from Memphis. So, but yeah, I mean, someone on our poll actually. I should have gotten his Twitter handle. He was the one who said that this kid from Israel is supposed to be really good. And then I just got into a deep dive of it. I'm like, oh, wow, this kid from Israel is real. So I don't know.
Hell yeah. And then what's the score on that game, Nabeel?
It is now 100-115 with 4:32 left. Houston with a commanding lead. I do not see OKC finding a way to come back and win this game.
Okay.
That's just my expert opinion.
Well, you are an expert on all things Big SAC and
Big SAC.
Big SAC at Bears, Birds, and Brews on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Oh, come to my comedy show this weekend if you're listening to this, please. At Oak Street Bottle Shop on Friday night. I gotta figure out some jokes I'm gonna tell. We gotta kill a lineup though. Like seriously, some of Atlanta's best comedy.
You can use the Big SAC joke.
I could use a Big SAC joke. Hey, I could use a Big SAC joke. I got, yeah. My mind is working now, Nabeel. But Oak Street Bottle Shop this Friday night, August 21st, we're going to do an outdoor comedy show. It's free to attend, and master and courage. Everything will be distance out, free outdoors, mask and courage. Laughter is the best medicine. Come get you some this Friday. At Bears, Birds, and Brews. You know where to find us on social media. Every week you can find us streaming on your favorite platforms. Every other week you can find us at your favorite breweries, whether it's here, whether it's in Duluth, whether it's in Athens, whether it's in Roswell.
Maybe even Asheville, or maybe in a different state.
Yeah, wherever you are, we can and will be, and we want to be there. Last thing I want to say, shout out to Greg Schaefer from Brews Brothers for coming on last week. That was a killer episode. Watch that. Listen to that. If you watch the show, you need to listen to the show. If you haven't done either, you need to do both on Netflix and on Spotify. And Nabeel, take it away, my friend. Boom. Cheers, y'all.